Hey, what's up? Welcome back. In this one, we're going to be starting a new series, upgrading the new and improved 1.18 mineshafts into an even better version, and more importantly, transforming it into a LUSH biome version. Yes, 1.18 has just formally released, and I am immediately addicted, as well as the LUSH biome is immediately my new favorite biome. So in this first episode, we're going to talk some pro tips for building with the LUSH biome, and then jump into our 4 different LUSH biome designs that we'll use in transforming the mineshaft. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get started. And to start it off, let's talk pro tips. Some of you might already know these, but in case you don't, they're going to be helpful. But if you do know them, you can go ahead and skip ahead. I have the YouTube chapters sectioning off the video, so you can skip to whatever part you want. But the 3 pro tips are: you can use bone meal on a block of moss to get more, spread it, and get the additional details of the biome. And just like that, fills it in. It helps us gather resources. Look, it doesn't work on blocks outside of, from what I can tell, the deep slate right in my hand right here. But so, for example, when we're working with wood in a little bit, as you'll see, when we place in more bone meal, it doesn't take out that wood, which really makes this project not just more fun, but easier to do. Number 2, you can use shears to clip the bottom of the glowberry vines to stop their growth. I mean, it really speaks for itself. And number 3, you can use bone meal on a already created vine to manually spawn glowberries, which act as a light source. And so yes, there's some pro tips for building in the LUSH biome. If you didn't know them, hopefully they help. And regardless, they definitely will with this project. So now let's talk biomes and the mini biomes that you'll see kind of all throughout that we're going to use in this mineshaft upgrade project. An idea that came to mind by just looking at the LUSH biome itself. But first off, to clarify, I went with 4 of them. For example, on screen right now, this is a naturally generated LUSH biome cave. First off, it looks beautiful just by itself. But second, you'll see as I section them off here, kind of how they have their own personalities. Wow, we're calling biomes personalities. We're taking a little too deep here, but you know, stick with me. Anyways, there is different areas of the LUSH biome that have their own cool natural details, which in turn gave me the idea to do sections of each kind of mini biome for the mineshaft, which is what we're gonna do. And those 4 sections are the LUSH wood version, the LUSH rocky version, the clay water, I guess is a decent description, and the just general rocky. Those are the 4 mini biomes we're gonna roll with. And finally, in this episode, let's take a look at how we go about building them. Let's go. Number 1, the LUSH style wood edition. Yes, that's where we're gonna start because this overhang looked so cool to me that I wanted to build here first. And so you're gonna see in the background as we build across, the first thing we want to do, and all throughout every single tunnel, we're actually gonna make it 5 wide. Instead of the traditional 3 wide, we're going with 5 wide just to give it more space. And we're going to do some cool aspects that I'll talk about in a moment here, and you'll see a little bit of. But as we talk about this design right here, I'm adding in the wood. And cool thing about this that I do want to mention real quick, I guess not necessarily cool as much as you don't have to use bone meal. You can always plug it in custom, you know, manually. And I actually didn't know about the bone meal trick until after doing this design. So that's why you'll see there's wood right here and a lot more carpet and that sort of stuff. So there's options, just thought I'd mention. As I do with most wood boardwalk looking type vibes, what we do is we plug in the stripped oak in rows, and then counter that with the planks, as well as filling in with the moss block to fill it up. We did the fence post, and you'll see that. I want to talk about the overhangs, but you'll see I'm doing this in-depth little detail right here where we cut out the wall a little bit, and that's key. We're going to do that all throughout the different spaces where we can, because that's going to add to the LUSH environment vibe that we're talking about. There's the carpets that I mentioned just a moment ago, and now mentioning the overhangs, which I do switch a little bit as we add in some of the glowberries right here. But we switch the overhangs, mineshaft overhangs that are right there, that are normally generated, into stripped oak on the sides, and then fence posts down 3 blocks and 4 blocks total. So we cut out 1 on the side, so it's 5 wide, and then make it 4 tall throughout the entire mineshaft itself. That's one thing to note, and the LUSH wood style is one that will be the predominant one for me in this project, because I definitely can confirm this one is my favorite. This looks the best to me. And the last thing I want to mention right here, because you know me, right? You know I love building for survival bases and making my projects survival base oriented, and this is a project I would do in survival although it is a bit large scale, so it's definitely not a starter base, but a fun base overall. Anyways, the point being, this overhang extends over naturally just the giant cave and this beautiful looking area right here. This was the highlight detail I found when I actually found the mineshaft, and being so, this is where I would love to add a nether portal if I were to be building a survival base. So looking at this wall right here, obviously we need a little bit of space, and so boom, just like that, we've got our nether portal. And so that's number 1, the Lush Wood Edition. And now honestly, we can walk over. By the way, here's the look of what is this called right here? Words, man, words. Mineshaft overhang, so that's the design right there, except for I'm realizing now that it's missing these right here. Now that's the design. Well, and with the I mean, come on, who is in charge here? Who is in charge? Anyways, now walking over this right here, this is the Lush Rocky Edition. Let's look at building it. Now we do have an overhang kind of blocking the view for a little bit here. You'll notice there's a step up pattern, but the first thing we did obviously was widen it to 5, which you're gonna do throughout the entire project. Trust me, it's gonna be worth it, and we're gonna connect some aspects of the mineshaft up later on and raise it to 4 tall. But so you see, naturally it generates those 1 kind of block jumps right there, and so you'll notice I plugged in stairs and a little slab pattern that looks just like this with a little bit of green, spread it in. The key here is it's skewed, notice, and then build it that way because it looks better. But regardless, now you'll see it's kind of rocky, and then we come in with the green. This is where again I'm manually plugging in all these different leaves and carpets, which you can of course do, but the naturally generated works as well. Now on all of these different mine shafts, we also want to plug in the mine track, broken up, skewed, because that's just a naturally generated detail that looks awesome, and we're going to keep it in there just to keep the tradition alive, or at least the general spirit of the mine shaft in place. And one final aspect I want to mention with the Rocky Edition is cutting out these walls to open up into the different aspects of Lush Biome. This is gonna be custom to your world, and that's the fun part about this project. It's doing things like that, but it's beautiful in that way. Look how it opens it up, and it just adds to the organic feel of the mine shaft while also just bringing in the Lush Biome and connecting everything together. And feel free, you notice this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can cut out some blocks on the side here too, just to add to the feel. And I guess one more thing, you notice this part right here is kind of pretty empty stone. If you get burnt out of building the Lush style, because there are a lot of tunnels in these abandoned mine shafts obviously, lean on this kind of design right here. Stick to our mine shaft details. I actually don't want the cobweb. Let's see if I can nail it. Yep. But you can lean on stone and always sprinkle in some moss later. Anyways, that's number 2. Now let's go to 3. Well, actually scratch that. Let's take a quick peek at 2.5, I guess, which is the staircases, in which you're gonna go with stone in all situations. There's none of the other blocks for our mini biomes that fit stairs, meaning there's no half slabs for clay or moss or anything like that. Only for the deep slate, which is what the caves are naturally generated in now, which is awesome. But as you'll see, we carve it out, and the real key here for the stairs is adding in the glow lichen, because together with that deep slate, it just looks, I don't know, something about it looks real cool. By the way, what are you noticing? Spoilers behind me? Sorry. Oh, look at how fast that transition was. It's a series. Don't worry, you'll see it. Now to 3, which is our clay water biome. We need a better name for that. Someone come up with one in the comments, please. Lush clay water. I mean, what in the world? I have no idea what to call it. But the good thing is the name speaks for itself in terms of the design of the pattern and biome layout that we're going to go with here. But the key is we want to add in the water, and so we're going to make these trims of clay as well as have pockets of clay all throughout, and that's going to bring it together. The wood complements nicely because we always have the wood going with those mineshaft overhangs, and then we're going to fill it with green. We're going to fill the floor with green, and really only that. Also, I'm doing a pocket in the wall right here again, and this one has a little water detail. So just like right here, we have that section in the mineshaft that's naturally generated with the 4 pillars. We attached the mineshaft overhang to that, just kind of hovering above it, and added grass in there. And so again, finishing up this back end of it, we plug in clay and then moss with a little bush. And I should have added some grass in, I didn't, but we put the glow lichen on the wall, and we'll add that grass in later. And so regardless, that's the clay water until someone comes up with a better name. Grass, grass, grass. Grass. It looks like I also added carpet off camera. Boom. Clay water. You know what? It's kind of becoming iconic. We might have to keep it until I see that comment. All right, number 4, aka our last one, the Lush Fully Loaded Edition. Yep, just came up with that because I'm realizing I think I messed myself up with the numbering, with that half, with the rocky, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, the point of this one is it's Lush, and we're gonna mash up a bunch of different aspects all together, and it's gonna look incredible if we do it right, which I felt pretty confident about this one in the end. But you'll see, we have a mashup of mostly grass, the moss all throughout, and then we add in some wood, also some clay, the clay water detail in general, and that's what we're doing on this back wall edge over here. You'll see, first off, I added in fully lush, and I was thinking about putting a tree right there, to be honest. Don't worry, that time will arrive, even though I guess technically they're not part of the lush biome. There's no trees, but we gotta put some. Anyways, you'll see I'm building it up, and you can see even better now since the mineshaft overhang is in place, but now we're putting a clay water detail, and we also have moss islands, not islands, but sections in the middle of it. So when we wrap this up with the glowberries, this tunnel is definitely my favorite so far, though I do have a lot more tunnels to do myself, so we'll see which comes out on top. But I want to walk through this one real quick. Look, you got a little bit of wood at the end, but you got this section with the clay water, and you got the moss overhanging right there. Real cool tunnel, and you'll notice the walls are predominantly that same deep slate. Instead of completely changing the walls, that's why I'm cutting them out and doing these sections like the one behind me. That's the way I would go about doing it, as well as you'll see right here, we did it with the clay. And part of the reason is this right here, or even, I mean, slightly like right here, right? But no, as we wrap up episode 1 and take a look at my work in progress, I mean, at least most of it, you know, this part might be a little bit blurred because that you'll see soon. I'm excited about that one. But the point is, what we're gonna do in episode number 2 of this series, now that we have our tunnels in place, you can go ahead and get to building. My goal is to release episodes ASAP as much as possible. I can't say I have an established schedule in mind quite yet. Basically, we have a bunch of different series coming in. But in episode 2 of this series, we're going to talk about connecting tunnels to open up the area, and just like we did with the nether portal, leave us reason to make this a survival base. Yes, drop questions below and get to building on the tunnels. We've got a lot more work to do. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for coming.